Thursday, May 13th. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Northeast, and I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, actually managed to press the record button. Gail, could you take a roll call, please?
Supervisor Kennedy?
Here.
Councilman Fidelli?
Here.
Councilman Kay?
Here.
Councilman Midwood?
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison? Here. We have quorum.
Thank you. The board has copies of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Gail, could you record the roll for that?
Absolutely. Supervisor Kennedy?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, well, welcome to our first regular town board meeting back in person. We are aware of the COVID infection rates continuing to go down. The county recorded today is tracking only 385 cases in the county as of today. And while that may sound like a large number, it's down from 2,500 in January. So it's a pretty dramatic reduction. And the positivity rate from tests is at 1.6% compared with 9% at the beginning of the year. As of today, the CDC issued some new guidance concerning the need for wearing of masks. Where's my mask? I forgot about it. And that guidance indicates that people will be required to wear masks. People who are fully vaccinated will not need to wear masks either indoors or outdoors, except in a few special locations such as hospitals, prisons, and so on. We will be looking at the town hall guidance going forward. I think, as I mentioned before, our guidance is that people working in a room together who are both fully vaccinated do not need to wear masks, and I think we're going to keep that. Maybe we will be able to move around the building without a mask, but we're still going to keep the door locked and transact as much business as we can through the pass-through windows, which we have found to be very effective for both the town clerk and the assessor, and for Lorna and everyone else. I hope that we will be able to have our town board meetings back in town hall, and if things go well, even next month. Speaking of vaccinations being made more available, 12 to 18-year-olds are now eligible to be vaccinated. The American Legion did conduct a pop-up vaccination clinic at the Legion last week. It was very successful. The county supervisor came out, and our county legislator were both here for the occasion. And the Legion has offered their facility for any more pop-up clinics that the county would like to do. Speaking of the American Legion, they, I think, will have a full schedule for Memorial Day, as they have done in the past, which they were not able to do last year, including the parade and the gathering at the Veterans Memorial. And speaking of the Veterans Memorial, Townscape will be planting flowers around the memorial in the park across from the movie house, and volunteers are certainly welcome. One of the big projects that's going on, which is not a town project, but it's a village project, is the impending renovation of Eddie Collins Field. It's a big project, and they have bids out for the work, which they're hoping to get done this summer. week. So I think you're going to see within maybe a month or so, work beginning on that renovation, and it's going to be great. They've raised a lot of money. The town has helped. It is as much a town park as it is a village park, although it is located in the village. And I'm glad that we're engaged with the village on that. At the recent supervisors and mayors meeting, one of the topics which came up, which I want to mention to the board, was a discussion of the recently approved legislation regarding marijuana sales and consumption and so on in New York State. And as I think everybody knows, marijuana consumption will be legal, possession will be legal in New York State. The question for towns and villages, since their retail sales will be permitted in the state and retail consumption will be permitted in the state, will be for the town to decide whether that is an activity that it wants to permit in the town. The towns and villages have until December 31 to opt out of that. And it's I think it's a question which every governing board is going to be discussing. I wanted to mention it just so that the board has time to think about it. Nothing we're going to do tonight. But obviously there are tax revenues that would come from having retail sales in our jurisdiction. And that's sort of one of the positives for many of the other towns. I can think of some negatives, but we have plenty of time on that, but we do need to do something by the end of the year. Climate Smart Communities group has been hard at work. They worked very hard on Earth Day. Bulk Trash Day will be on June 12th. And again, we will take electronics. Kathy Chow and Rob Cooper are going to take electronics over to Dutchess County of the following week for their hazardous waste collection on June 19th. We will also be looking for, as we did last year, for air conditioners and refrigerators, which are taken by Welsh and have the refrigerant taken out of them, as it's one of the main contributors to greenhouse gas pollution. Also, Climate Smart Communities item, Kathy Chow will send information about some of the proposals that the Climate Smart program is making for the town board to consider, policies especially. She will be trying to make sure that that information gets to the board ahead of meetings so that you all have a chance to look at it and think about it. So I'm not just presenting something without a little bit of an answer. That is it for my speech. We're going to go into department and committee reports. Police report, I did get a report from Mike Beater about 10 minutes ago. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to print it out. I will distribute it to the board, and it will be made available on our town website as it has been in the past. The highway, Bob, I think you have some good news for us.
Sure. We have the auction results for the old salt shed at 11 South Center Street. We did very well. The high bid was $5,500, which is a little more than half of what the town paid for 10 years ago. So I feel that's a
That's
great bid.
That's great.
That includes the blocks with it?
Yes.
That's great. Do I hear a motion to authorize Bob to accept the bid?
So moved.
Second.
Gail?
Supervisor Kent?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion
Okay,
passed.
full speed ahead. I think it's great. I think it's great that the bidder is going to remove not just the tented portion of the old salt shed, but the blocks as well.
I agree.
Completely remove it, which is terrific. Look forward to hearing when that's been done.
Certainly.
I don't think we have a report from the Recreation Committee.
No.
We do not, but Ralph, do you want to just say a couple of words about the cemetery project?
Sure. We've been working really diligently on this cemetery project. And Claire Goodman and I are kind of leading the workload. And we're looking to develop a not-for-profit organization, a 501c3. At this point, it's just called a group, but it's a group of concerned individuals who are getting together. We've been meeting, we met last Wednesday at the Irondale Schoolhouse, and we will have another meeting next Wednesday at 2 o'clock at the Irondale Schoolhouse to work up the details of the program. We've engaged an attorney, the attorney has worked up letters of engagement for this group. And once the federal government approves the project, we will get authorization to be called a not-for-profit Friends of Spencer's Corners Burying Ground. We've worked with the Northeast Historical Society, and they have graciously offered a dedicated line in their budget, and we've started to accumulate dedicated donations to this particular project. So we're off and running. It's going to be a long process, but we're working on it, and we'll be working with the town board also at some later time.
Great.
Chris, can I just say something about your comments? The marijuana project. One of the things that I feel that the board should be interested in doing when we start thinking about marijuana, look at what has happened in states that have approved marijuana already. Actually do some research and find out what's happened to the crime rate, what's happened to a lot of things that were affected, what's happened to the income level, so we could form an educated opinion as to whether we should do it or not do it, and not just a personal feeling, but look at history and find out whether there's any effect on crime or accident levels or things of that nature.
I think the board will be doing that. I think we should also keep in mind that the legislation is, as it has been in those other places, you refer to our states.
Yes.
And it has been legalized in the state of
Yes.
New York. So what we do here may not be earth-shattering, but your point is well taken, and I think we should all do, not only examine our own feelings about it, but find out what information we can.
Thank you.
I have a brief report from Edie Greenwood regarding the zoning review committee. Starting with a site visit in December with our consultant Will Agresta, the zoning review committee began looking at the uses in the 6 boulevard districts as currently defined in the town of Northeast zoning law. This approach, while enlightening, showed us how circular our discussions could become without making much progress. So the committee decided to turn our bottom-up process into a higher level approach. We are now focusing on drafting a purpose statement for each zoning district in the town, discussing how each district relates to other districts, and linking these purpose statements to the vision that has been laid out in the 2019 comprehensive plan. We currently hold open meetings twice a month. All our agendas and meeting minutes are posted on the town website. I would just make a comment that the work of this committee is really daunting and really impressive. they have put in many, many hours in committee meetings so far. We have two members of the committee here tonight, Dave and George. And I'm just aware of how much time you and the other members have put into that committee and will be putting into that committee for the rest of the year. It's not for the faint of heart. So, thank you. Okay, we are going to move things around on the agenda a little bit.
Chris, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
What did I do?
You went to the committees, but you passed the assessor and the other reports.
I did. I moved right along, didn't I?
You saw these, so you know.
Let's back up a little bit. Bob, did you have anything else you wanted to
That's
add?
all I have.
Okay, things are good at the highway garage?
Things are very good.
Okay. Catherine,
Hi.
I'm going to turn the microphone around and hope that
Okay,
it can be heard.
let me know if it's working. This month I'm just following up on, I guess, my last few months of reporting as we've been going along. I've been reporting that I've been doing a lot of analysis of the market this year, and we determined that we had to do some increases in assessment values in order to stay at our 100% equalization. And so through all my analysis, we put in our tentative roll that was out on May 1st. And the last time we spoke, I was just about to file and get everything printed and mailed out to everyone, their new assessments. And that was done on April 16th. So my goal was to have enough time for everyone to take a look at it, review it, think about it, talk to me if they had any questions before the upcoming grievance day. So far that's been going well. We've been getting some phone calls. The main questions that I've been getting, and I'd like to address them briefly, are, is it just me that's getting this increase? You know, are you picking on me particularly? What's going on? And how much are my taxes going to go up? So as far as the first one, it's not just you. It was a town-wide project, a review of all commercial, residential, and vacant parcels. So it wasn't specific to any kind of class or any kind of neighborhood. It was a full review. And what we determined in the end was that in order to stay at 100% of market values, as the real estate market is kind of hot lately, and I think everybody has realized that, we had to make some adjustments. Residentials went up anywhere from 2 or 3 or 4%. The village being the heart of the boom right now, so they were at the highest 4% level. Commercials saw a trend up of 6%. And vacants varied. Vacants ended up being varied by the size of the lot. So I don't have an actual number that they all went up a certain percent. Some went up, down, up slightly, down slightly, stayed the same, depending on other things about the property. So again, it wasn't just one particular person, one particular place, one particular class of properties. Everyone pretty much everyone saw a change. The second question, again, is are taxes going up? And that, of course, is hard to say. Assessments don't reflect taxes. They don't necessarily say an increase in assessments equals an increase in taxes. And it's not a apples-to-apples comparison, even if that was the case. What assessment does is just guarantee that every property is paying their fair share of the overall tax levy. And now we have tax levies coming from the town, village, school districts, county. So there's a lot of things to juggle around to even make that kind of mathematical conclusion whether or not the taxes will increase because of this. But we can kind of try to pinpoint something. What I have looked at is the overall taxable value change from last year to this year. And the overall taxable value change right now sits at 4.1%. So if your tax assessment went up less than 4.1%, you should not see a tax increase, given that tax levies stay the same. Again, I'm not speaking for the town, county, village, school district, what they're going to do with their tax levy. But if the tax levy was exactly the same as last year, and your assessment increased less than 4.1%, you should not see a tax increase. That's where I want to start. And that's a good thing, especially for the residential properties, because as I said, they went up either 2, 3, or 4%. So for the most part, residential properties should not see a big impact of this change. Again, there were some residential properties that increased greater than that, because of construction, other reviews of data, but for the most part, the overall trend, the highest that was 4% anywhere in the town. And so our tentative roll, as I said, was published on May 1st. It is available physically at Town Hall to take a look at, or online. And there is a link online on the assessor's page and on the main page on the announcements. I am available to speak to anyone with any questions at all. I have extra hours coming up this Saturday from 9 to 1. Next week, my usual office hours, which is Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 3. Wednesday evening, I'll be there from 4 to 8. And the following Tuesday, the day before Grievance Day, I'll be available also from 9 to 3. So please, if anyone does have a question, if anyone listening now has a question that you can field, I'm happy to answer them. Our Grievance Day will be Wednesday, May 26th. The Grievance Board will be meeting at Town Hall in the main room downstairs. We will have one-by-one customers that want to come and read. People don't have to be there physically in person. We will also have a Zoom option if they want to speak to the board, but also that is optional. Most people decide just to file a grievance, submit it with any information that they want the board to consider. So you don't actually have to be there. If you want to speak, you can come in person or by Zoom, and we will have our hearing that day. All the complaint forms, I would prefer if they were delivered ahead of time so that we have time to distribute them, scan them, and get them to the board members. So we're not shuffling with a lot of paper on the day. So I'm asking for grievance forms to come in early. But any questions, we're available in the office and we can help you through the process.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Will information about Grievance Day be posted on the town website? Or is
It indeed is, yes. It was published in the paper, it should be up on the website, on the announcements, and it's posted outside the building.
Okay, great. Because I'm sure that that's a helpful place to get information about Grievance Day. The reports regarding planning, the zoning department, and the building department have been sent by the town clerk and received by the town board. Gail, do you have any further report that you are looking to make at this time?
No, not at this time, but next month I'll give everybody information regarding taxes, because we'll be wrapping it up at that point and sending any unpaid taxes back to the county. So I'll be able to produce some final numbers as far as the collection rate and everything at that time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think we've caught up with ourselves again. We are now going to, I'm going to move things around on the agenda a little bit. We're now going to go to number 8. We're going to talk about the highway garage. We have 2 items this evening connected with our new highway garage project. A bonding resolution and a resolution authorizing the town to issue an RFP for construction bids. This is the most important capital project that the town of Northeast has undertaken in a very, very long time, in decades. It's been one that the town board has been working on for years, going back several town supervisors. The town's existing highway garage, and I know I won't be offending you, Bob, when I describe it as inefficient, inadequate, outdated, and deteriorated. I think it's all of those things. It is also located in a residential neighborhood in the village and in a 100-year floodplain. It has been painfully obvious for a long time that the town needed to do something about it. And as the board knows, the town was able to acquire a 3.7-acre parcel of land on Route 22 for the bargain sum of $6,582. In the 2 years that we've been working on this, the town has built a 4,800 square foot storage building, as well as a sand salt structure capable of holding 2,000 tons of material. The last step in this project will be the construction of a modern, up-to-date, well-designed highway garage itself to serve both the town and the village. And this is something that is we've talked about a lot. It's a really important feature of this, which is that the whole highway garage complex has been designed for the town and the village. We're not merging municipalities, but we are sharing a location, sharing a facility, and this is at least a step down towards sharing a service. The proposed structure, which has been designed by our town engineer, Ray Zherkowski of CPL Engineering, is just that building, modern, up-to-date, well-designed highway garage. The board got a detailed presentation of the building at our meeting last week. The schematics for the building are on the table over there to the right. If anyone would like to see if anyone watching this online would like to see the presentation which Ray made last week, it is available. You can view the video of the board meeting, which I think is available on the town's website. We've taken a number of, knowing that this is a large project, we've taken a number of steps to reduce the cost of the building. One of them, the one we started with, was finding a piece of land for a very, very advantageous price, which the previous board did, led by George, and it was certainly a great, not only advantageous, but a really good location for a highway garage on Route 22, out of the village. The clearing of the land was done, the clearing of trees and so on of the land was done by our highway crew. We deleted a proposed second story and reduced the size of the administrative and staff side of the building. We plan to install solar collectors on the roof, which has been designed to accommodate them and which will in turn lower the energy costs of the building. We may be able to put enough solar collectors on the roof, which happens to be perfectly located south-facing, to power not only the highway garage, but to compensate for the energy costs of all the other buildings that the town owns as well. And lastly, the construction of the building will include a low carbon concrete as one of the actions that we're taking to reflect the concern which the country has, which everybody has about climate and greenhouse gas emissions and the role of carbon. The first item before us is the beginning of bonding of the building. And the board has received a copy from our bond counsel of a proposed resolution, bond resolution, which will begin this process. The estimated cost of the building, which was estimated by our engineer, is, hold on a second, make sure I get it right, was estimated at $3,224,000. The town has $295,000 set aside towards construction of the building. Therefore, we are proposing the issuance of $2,929,000 of serial bonds to finance this building. We should also note that the state of New York has indicated that they are going to award the town $500,000 towards the construction of the building. And we are still filling out the paperwork for that, but we have a letter indicating the award of that. And we will also be applying to Dutchess County's new municipal investment grant program, which is currently receiving applications. Applications are due next week, so we've got some work to do to get that in. But we will be applying for the maximum $250,000 from that. I think, Warren, do you have anything you want to say that I haven't covered in terms of this resolution?
No, I think you covered it fairly well. I mean, the amount we actually borrow is undetermined at this point. Will depend on the grants. We're also going to be having a series of one or two bond anticipation notes. We're only going to borrow the money as we need it, the property, as we phase the construction. So trying to keep it as affordable as we possibly can for the
Yeah,
town.
it's certainly an important aspect of that we're not going out to borrow the full amount, we only borrow as we need it. Anything else that I left out?
I don't think you.
I know that we've had a chance to look at the construction drawings last week, and I've had a chance to talk with each member of the board before this, but if you have any further questions, otherwise I'd like to ask our clerk to read the resolution.
Bond resolution dated May
Wait a minute, I'm
13th.
gonna move the microphone over in your direction. Thanks.
Bond resolution dated May 13th, 2021. A resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the construction of Phase 3 of a new highway garage facility with fuel depot on a town-owned parcel of land on Route 22 in Millerton, New York, in and for the town of Northeast Dutchess County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $3,224,000, and authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $2,929,000 bonds of said town to pay a portion of the cost thereof. Whereas all conditions precedent to the financing of the capital project hereinafter described, including compliance with the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, have been performed, and whereas the capital project hereinafter described has been determined to be an unlisted action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the implementation of which, as proposed, the town board has determined will not result in any significant adverse environmental effects. And whereas it is now desired to authorize the financing thereof, now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Northeast Dutchess County, New York, as follows. Section 1. The construction of Phase 3 of a new highway garage facility with fuel depot on the town-owned parcel of land on Route 22 in Millerton, New York, in and for the town of Northeast Dutchess County, New York, including original furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, site improvements, and other incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, is hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $3,224,000. Section 2. The plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. A. By the issuance of not exceeding $2,929,000 serial bonds of said town hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law, and provided, however, the amount of serial bonds to be issued shall be reduced by any grants and aid received therefore, and B, by the expenditure of not exceeding $225,000 current available fund monies hereby appropriated therefore. Section 3. It is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 30 years pursuant to subdivision 11A1 of paragraph A of section 11.00 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the serial bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4. The faith and credit of said town of Northeast Dutchess County, New York, are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property in said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5. Subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor of said town, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and contents, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6. All other matters except as provided herein relating to the bonds herein authorized, including the date, denominations, maturities, and interest payment dates, within the limitations prescribed herein and the manner of execution of the same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service, shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer of such town. Such bonds shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for the section 52.00 of the local finance law, and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals, in addition to those required by section 51.00 of the local finance law, as the supervisor shall determine consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7. The validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if 1. Such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2. The provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3. Such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 8. This resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury Regulations Section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9. Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in full or summary form in the official newspaper of said town for such purpose, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum.
Thank you, Gail. It's a long one. Anyway, this is an important step towards finishing this highway project. It's, we've talked before about the importance of this. This is a project which I know the board joins me in feeling is an important and essential step forward for the town. Does the board have any further comment, any questions at this point regarding this resolution? No. Gail, could you,
Is there a motion?
do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution which was just read by the town clerk?
So moved.
Motion by Ralph Fidelli,
Second.
second John Midwood. Gail?
Supervisor Kennan.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
All right. Thank you. The next I'm going to take up the RFP for the construction documents. As I mentioned previously, at the meeting we had last week, we did have an opportunity to hear from our engineer and to have him present the bid documents for the highway garage. Ray is attending virtually and would be able to answer any questions that the board might have at this point. As I mentioned, the bid drawings are over there. The rest of the bid documents are ready to be sent out. We look forward to getting this thing going as soon as possible. I know that we would like to see it move along so that concrete can be poured before the weather sets in. So we want to move this as quickly as we possibly can at this point. The goal is to have the building finished by March of next year. If the concrete is poured before the colder weather arrives and we're able to enclose the building, we will be able to continue the work on the interior of the building through the winter. So we have a resolution authorizing solicitation of sealed bids and furnishing of all materials necessary for construction of the Highway Department garage building at 6097 Route 22 in the town of Northeast New York. Gail, could you read this resolution, please?
Certainly. Resolution authorizing the solicitation of sealed bids and furnishing of all materials necessary for construction of the Highway Department garage building at 6097 Route 22 in the town of Northeast New York. Whereas the town has acquired a parcel of land located at 6097 Route 22 in the town of Northeast for purposes of the construction of a sand storage facility, fuel depot, and highway garage. And whereas the project has been planned in 3 phases, with phase 1 and 2 being the construction of the sand salt storage building and fuel depot, which projects have been completed. And whereas the town engineer, CPL Architects, Engineers, Landscape Architecture and Surveyor, DPC or CPL, pursuant to the resolution of the town board, has prepared construction plans for the new highway garage building, including general construction, electrical construction, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning construction, and plumbing construction dated May 2021. And whereas the said plans and a bid package have been reviewed by the town board and the attorney to the town and have been determined to be acceptable in form and content, and whereas the town board has this day passed a separate resolution providing the bonding and financing of said construction, including engineering and legal fees. And whereas the potential environmental impacts of this project have been reviewed pursuant to the provisions of SEEKR, and it has been determined that the project does not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts, and as a result, no draft environmental impact statement was required. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town clerk and the town engineer to disseminate the notice to bidders and invite sealed bids for the furnishing of the materials and labor necessary for the construction of the highway department garage. And it is further resolved that the bids be publicly opened and read on Friday, June 18th, 2021 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by George Kay,
Second.
second by Lana Morrison. Are there any questions from members of the board? Gail, could you conduct the roll call?
Certainly. Supervisor Kenneth.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Okay. Thank you. That takes care of the highway garage items. The next item, working my way up, is the approval of an RFP for greenhouse gas emission study. We've talked about this before. This is one of the original items from the Climate Smart program, which the town entered into in 2018. This is measuring what greenhouse gas emissions the town produces, either through its buildings or its activities, its vehicles, and so on and so forth. It is an effort to form a baseline of what greenhouse gas emissions we emit in the town. If we then go further than that, we can see if there are ways that we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. But obviously, in order to find out how you're reducing, you need to know where you're starting from. And this is what does that. It also is a request for a draft of a government operations climate action plan. In other words, a strategy for how we are going to achieve our climate objectives. This has been worked on by the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. I've been very involved in that. It's been reviewed by our attorney. It's also been reviewed by New York State DEC. And I think it is now, I don't think it can stand any further review. But this is a good step forward, and it's a great action for us to be taking at this point. Gail, you ready for one more?
One more, sure.
If you could please read the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the issuance of request for proposals, or RFP, for a consultant and/or environmental firm to develop documentation and furtherance of its actions to achieve Climate Smart certification. Whereas in 2016, with staff and organizational assistance of the Housatonic Valley Association of Cornwall Bridge, Connecticut, or HVA, the town of Northeast and neighboring communities along the 10 Mile River, or TMR, formed the 10 Mile River Watershed Roundtable. And whereas in 2018, HVA staff introduced the town of Northeast to the New York State DEC Climate Smart Communities Certification Program. And whereas the town of Northeast and the village of Millerton both registered as Climate Smart Communities and intend to proceed together towards certification. And whereas with support from the TMR Roundtable and HVA's assistance with technical climate change date, the town of Northeast received a 2018 New York State Consolidated Funding Application, or CFA, grant in a round of competitive Climate Smart Communities, or CSC, certification program funding. And whereas the town seeks to retain qualified vendors to submit proposals to assist the town to complete 2 CSC certification priority actions, to wit, Government Operations Greenhouse Gas, or GHG, inventory, and a Government Operations Climate Action Plan. And whereas the town has produced a request for proposals for such services to assist the town in partial completion of a grant funding priority actions to achieve the New York State DEC Climate Smart Community certification by March 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town clerk to distribute and advertise the request for proposals as reviewed and approved by the town board and the attorney to the town for a Governmental Operations Greenhouse Gas, or GHG, inventory and a Government Operations Climate Action Plan.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board at this point? No?
No.
Not seeing or hearing any. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Motion by John Midwood,
Second.
second by Diana Morrison. Gail?
Supervisor Kenneth,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Kay,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, Warren, I know that you've been traveling, so if
Ready to
you
go to
need
bed?
to exit,
Sure you don't need me for anything else?
well, I would never go that far, but I think we'll be okay.
You know where to find me.
We have, the town has received a proposal from Emery Webb Insurance for a renewal of our, thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
For a renewal of our workers' comp insurance. This is one of those nice times when I'm happy to tell the board that they're proposing a decrease in our workers' comp insurance of 3.94%. For a funding contribution amount of $24,729. This is a decrease from the expiring one of $25,742.
How come?
Well, this is one of those things that I don't want to ask too many questions, but they're proposing to lower our insurance, and the town has been awarded $500 in the second round of our loyalty program. I would like to entertain a motion to accept the proposal for the workers' comp insurance.
So moved.
Motion by Lynn Morrison. Second.
Second.
Second by Ralph. Gail?
Supervisor Kennett?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
Okay. As the board knows, we get different portions of our town government operations get audited by the auditor. And so far, the only audit which has been received so far is on the Justice Court. The copy of that audit report will be distributed to the board. And I would like to entertain a motion for the board to accept the report.
So moved.
Motion by John Midwood,
Second.
second George K. Gail?
Supervisor Kennett?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
As I mentioned previously, the Dutchess County is holding a grant application process for what used to be called the Municipal Innovation Grant. They've changed it to the Municipal Investment Grant, but the initials remain the same. So it's called a MIG grant. We have received 2 grants towards the construction of the highway garage so far, one for the salt shed and one for the storage building. Those 2 grants total over $500,000. I would like to apply on behalf of the town to apply for the maximum funding level, which would be $250,000 in this municipal investment grant program in this cycle. And I would like to have a motion from the board or a motion from the board to authorize me to apply for those funds for the highway garage.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ralph Dillon, second by Lana Morrison. Gail?
Supervisor Kennett?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. We're moving along now. We have a public comment period. There are no members of the public here at this time, except for Emily? You have any questions, Emily?
No, I'm good.
If anybody watching this on Zoom has a question, at this point, we can try to make this work. This isn't a TV studio, but we're working with the technology. So if anybody has a question, put your hand up, otherwise we will. Oh, Delora Brooks, you need to, okay, I think you've unmuted yourself.
Yes. This question is it's general. It's more or less a comment. I noticed that the top of the extension, which is not in the village, it's in the town. There's significant erosion that's going on from the road up there, and it's causing. Have to keep cleaning up the gravel and the dirt that keeps coming down. Is there any possibility that the town could consider paving that?
I'd like to take a look at it myself. That is not a town road. That is actually a private road that runs up there. So that's an immediate issue, but I would like to go up and take a look at that situation, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Whoops. All right. Meg Winkler?
Yeah, hey, Chris, when you brought up the marijuana legalization, has anything come down from the county regarding the agricultural piece of this? If farmers will be grandfathered in to be able to grow marijuana, or is that something to be decided at a later time?
I have not heard anything about that at this point. I'm sure there are many parts to this legislation, and I haven't read it, but that is certainly one portion of it. There's, as I think everybody knows, the hemp farming for non-THC hemp is vibrant and going on all over the state. So I don't know how that will apply. But I will let you know.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Rich Stalzer, who is chairing our broadband committee. Rich, if you want to, yeah, I think you've unmuted yourself.
Right, so not related to broadband, but actually to what Delora was saying, I just noticed that a 4-acre lot at the end of that road is on the market with a house, to be built listed. So if, I know the developer bought the old Lyman property and apparently he's starting to try to sell chunks of it, maybe if that ever goes before a town board, a real road can be put into that, because he's got 20 acres. He's only, 4 is on the market at the moment.
Okay,
That's it. That's my
so
question.
noted. Thank you. Was unaware of that, but we will be paying attention. It is an interesting, that land up there is an interesting piece of land, and I know that the zoning review committee has also been looking at that whole area there, going up to Belkey Road. Okay, if there are I don't see any further questions or comments. Next comes the supervisor's report. We have a budget adjustment in A fund, an expense increase of $92,000, less an expense decrease of $5,000, less a revenue increase of $87,000 for a net of 0. Could I have a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
So moved.
Motion by Lana Morrison,
Second.
second John Midwood. Gail, you want to Polis?
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay. Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you. I have a special abstract dated April 26, 2021, totaling $10,384.32, broken down as follows. A fund, $2,140.78. DB fund, $8,243.54. Could I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Motion by George Kay,
Second.
second by Ralph Fidelli. Gail?
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
I have an abstract dated May 13, 2021, totaling $204,364.23, broken down as follows. A fund, $77,748.45. B fund, $1,546.42. DB fund, $29,437.12. Capital Projects Fund, $65,230. Water District, SW1, $30,180. Payroll T&A, $222.24. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Okay, Ralph Fidelli, seconded by Lana Morrison. Gail?
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
The voucher committee for June 2021 is John Midwood and Lana Morrison. The clerk has distributed minutes from the meeting of April 8th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ralph, Lana, seconded by Lana Morrison. Gail?
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Council has left, so there is no meeting with council. The next item is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Go all yell at once. I think George got that one. He did. Yep. Seconded by Lana Morrison. Gail?
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, the motion is adjourned. Okay, thank you, everybody.